Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Kitchen 701. I'm super glad that you are tuned in. It's Thanksgiving week, which is super exciting. We're busy cooking away, getting everything ready for the big meal. Even though it's just us three, it's just Britton and Adeline and I, we still want to make it, as traditional as possible given the 2020 situation. Okay, so I have a joke for you. What is green beans' role on Thanksgiving? Casserole. Okay, so that should tell you. Today we're going to focus on green bean casserole, but we are going to put a different spin on it. Not really, but we're going to remove the cream of mushroom soup. So, something I hate more than a lot of things in life is cream of anything soup. It's so pointless. You can make it yourself and avoid all that sodium, all that extra junk that is in any sort of cream of anything soup. So we're going to make this in a little bit better way. We're not going to make it in a healthy way because ain't nobody got time for that on Thanksgiving, right? So what we'll do is we'll make it in a little better way so that we know all the ingredients that go into our green bean casserole. We don't have to sit there and question what that glob of gooey crap is actually, which some of you may not care on Thanksgiving or any other time. I do. And so it's easy enough to make yourself. It's so easy to make that base. You just make a roux, and I'll show you how to do that. Show you how I make my green bean casserole, and it's super easy. So only a few ingredients. We need chicken stock or any sort of stock. We need green beans, and I'll talk about what kind I use. We need some flour, some butter, some mushrooms, onions. You even wouldn't have to put in the mushrooms and onions, but I like to do that. And a little bit of milk. What am I missing? Oh, the best item, the French's fried onions. These babies. Gotta have those in there. Usually when I go shopping for the green bean casserole ingredients, I always think, oh shoot, I don't have everything. But I really do because there just aren't that many ingredients that you need. So, let's get going. Some ingredients. I do the French style green beans. That's just what I like to do. Now, I could do the green beans from my garden, but I'm weird where I don't want to waste my green beans from the garden where it just gets put in a dish and you can't really taste if they're really from the garden or not. It's weird. It's a weird logic. It probably isn't logical at all, but that's just me. So I bought my green beans, bought everything else. Okay, so I've got my oven preheated at 350, got it on the bake function. Now it's just us three, so I'm not gonna make a huge dish. I'm gonna put it in the little 8x8 square pan. What I'm gonna do first is I've got about 3/4 of a container, you could use a whole container too, of mushrooms. I'm going to slice these up as well as a small, I've just got a red onion, not preferable, but again, I'm always just about using what you have. I would prefer a yellow onion, but we're just gonna use what we have. Half of a small one. The onion really isn't a huge flavor component here. So we're gonna slice this up thinly and saute them in some butter. Okay, so we'll get that going here. All right, as you can see, I've got my mushrooms and my onions sliced and chopped. I've got a pretty rough chop on here where a lot of these mushrooms are still pretty big. And I'm not even a mushroom aficionado. I'm learning to like them a little more. But I like having that little mushroom thick kind of chunkiness in my green bean casserole. If you don't like that, don't do it. Slice them thinner. All right, so we're going to put all of this into this pan and we'll saute them and cook them down first so that when we come time to add them to the roux, they're already cooked and it's basically just a matter of incorporating all the flavors together. Okay, so we got some butter in here. We're gonna get all of this sauteed. All right, so a couple of things while I've got the mushrooms and onions sweating down and sauteing is this is definitely a meal to make ahead of time. That's what I'm doing. One less thing to make the day of, and it definitely keeps in the refrigerator well enough so that the next day when it comes time to eat it, or 2 days, I would say max 2 days, when it comes time to eat it, pop it in the oven, probably 275 for 10 minutes, and then it's nice and warm and bubbly again. For the broth, now I was going to do the broth that came from the turkey from roasting that, but we decided to smoke our turkey. Call me crazy, but I'm not a huge fan of that real smoky flavor, and I don't want my green bean casserole to be smoky flavored. I want it to be nice and traditional. So I'm just doing an organic chicken broth. which will make it taste just as yummy. And fun fact, the green bean casserole is my second favorite dish on Thanksgiving. My number one favorite dish is not the turkey. That's just an added bonus. It's the mashed potatoes and gravy with corn on top, all mixed together. It's amazing. I could eat mashed potatoes and gravy every day. When someone asks me what my favorite food is, I always say avocados. That's a go-to. But I'm kind of lying to myself because it's really mashed potatoes and gravy. I just wouldn't want to see the results of eating that every day. Other than, like my avocados, I could eat every day and I'd be fine. But you wouldn't want to see the results of me eating mashed potatoes and gravy every single day. Okay, I've got you moved over here so that you can get right in on the action that I've got going on here. So we've got our mushrooms and onions sweated down nice, exactly how I want them to be. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove them out of this pan. Try to get most of the little chunks though. You wouldn't need to be super serious about it. We'll just try to get mostly everything. And then, whoops, we got mushrooms flying everywhere. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we are going to take a couple of tablespoons of butter. Like I said, we're not making this healthy. It's Thanksgiving. It is not the time to be healthy or make any sort of sacrifices on flavor, if you ask me. So, lots of butter. We're going to get this melted down. Let's not keep that paper in there, okay? Yeah, great. Okay, so we're gonna get this nice and melted down. Get this nice and toasty. We're looking for a real nutty flavor. So while this melts down, I'm gonna get ready to add in about 3-4 tablespoons of flour to make the roux. All right, so let's keep this going. All right, so I've got my butter melted down. We're gonna turn the heat down a little bit. And then we're going to add, like I said, about 3 to 4 tablespoons of flour. And we're going to whisk that in. Holy moly, I'm just using up every inch of this little space over here. But we're going to whisk this to where it just kind of gets a little browned. I'm actually going to add a little bit of olive oil to give it just a hint more moisture. You want this to get kind of browned up, just like that, where it almost makes a paste, and you can kind of smell that butter incorporate in with the flour. It smells a little nutty, they say. Then I've got 3/4 cup milk and 3/4 cup stock. In my case, like I said, the organic chicken stock. Now, all we're going to do is whisk this all together. It may look a little lumpy and chunky at first, and that is to be expected. But as we whisk, and we turn the heat up a little bit at this point, as we whisk and get all of this incorporated, it's going to start to, number one, get rid of those chunks and become smoother. And then number two, it's going to start to thicken. Now, the big goal for me always is to avoid putting in cornstarch. We all know that cornstarch can help as a thickening agent and just kind of get everything nice and thick and luscious like we want. But I like to avoid doing that if we can. Now, there may be a little bit of a trial and error of, let's add a little bit more flour to thicken it up too. Now, I don't want to add too much flour because we don't really want to have that flour taste. You may think, well, flour doesn't have a taste, but you can definitely taste in a roux if something is over floured. We don't want that. Now, it's already starting to thicken up. You might be able to see that here. Now, there's chunks of kind of that leftover mushroom. That's completely fine. But look at that. It is so nice and creamy now. Do you see that? Oh, it's looking delicious. So we're gonna just kind of let that bubble up a little bit. So then I've got my mushrooms and onions that I want to add to this, but I'm gonna let this bubble up a little bit more. Okay, we're back. Oh my gosh, this is just looking perfect. We are done with the whisk. It is time to bring in these mushrooms and onions into here. Oh, it's looking perfect. It's smelling perfect. Yummy. Okay, so we're gonna get all of this mixed in together. Now it's time to turn that heat down nice and low. Don't want to burn anything or overcook anything. Now is the time. I'm gonna get into my spice cabinet here. Nothing is really crazy as far as spices in here go. We're just going to use some pink Himalayan salt and a lot of pepper. Green bean casserole, in my opinion, needs lots of pepper. And pepper's good for you. So we did a good deed on Thanksgiving. And there's green beans in here. I mean, come on. That's something to be proud of. And I put corn on my mashed potatoes and gravy. And my helping of mashed potatoes and gravy is very large. So I think by the time we put all that together, that's like 4 or 5 servings of vegetables. That's a lot on Thanksgiving. Okay, so look at this. Does this not look like cream of mushroom soup that you get in a can? It does. Tell yourself to stop buying cream of mushroom soup. Make this yourself. This looks exactly like what you would buy. And it's way better because you know what's in it. The last part, we add in the green beans. Again, French style is the way to go, in my opinion. If you disagree, I don't care. Okay, we'll just go with that. All right, so let's get this all mixed in. Now you could use less green beans if you want to. I like mine to be nice and green beany. And then it just maybe makes me feel a little better that I've got more veggies, per the conversation earlier. But there's really nothing else to do here, except maybe spread this around just a little bit more. But it's all mixed together really well already. It's so simple, right? So simple. I always thought growing up that this was a really complicated thing to make. And I actually didn't like it when I was a kid either, which that's probably a pretty normal thing for a kid to not like this because it looks a little scary. Okay, so now we just get this in here. Now, most green bean casseroles I feel like are either in like one of those wider white Corningware dishes or like a 9x13. I like to put this in here for our purposes, like I said, because it's just us 3. But also I like to put it in here because then you get a nice thick chunk. Yeah, is that how we want to describe our food on Thanksgiving? I don't know, but I just did it. But you get a nice thick chunk of this green bean casserole. And finally, the main reason we're all here is to put the French's fried onions on top. Now, some people like to make a nice little like arrangement around the outside. I am not for that because I want every piece of my green bean casserole to have these on here. Okay, I better test these. Yes, still good. Yeah, that'll work. Yum. Okay, funny fact before I put this in the oven, actually, let's say while I put it in the oven, is we were hanging out in the house one night with Adeline and we couldn't find her and didn't really hear much of her, which when you have a 14-month-old is very scary. And we came around here by the kitchen and we found her digging with both hands in the French's fried onions. She is a smart cookie, that one. If I could do that, I would definitely do it. But I choose not to. Although I dream of these a lot. Okay, so it's gonna go in the oven. We're going to set our timer for 20 minutes at 350, and I will see you back when that is all done. Okay, the timer went off. We are ready to take this out of the oven. I've been good and I haven't opened it and checked it out. Okay, the time has come. I am so excited. This is just so delicious. Smells so good in here. Okay. Whoa, I'm so excited. All right, there's one bad thing about making this ahead of time. It's going to be extremely hard to not eat this before Thanksgiving. But I'm gonna be strong. I'm not gonna do it. Look how yummy that is. There's no cream of mushroom soup in here. It's very simple. Do it, make it on your own. I know you can do it. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Bye.